Kia ora, everyone. Welcome back. This is episode 3, I think, of the Higurashi Bookclub. I'm your host, Horsefry. I'm here with
Ez
and Lurf.
And yeah, what have you guys been up to? I haven't really been up to much at all, I think.
Got a new car.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. I I got a Tesla.
Oh,
so
no.
It drives itself.
I mean, congrats.
I'm obsessed with.
But
I
oh
know.
no.
Like, I know. I do not support Elon Musk and whatever he does on Twitter. However, the Tesla is really nice.
It looks it. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. The self-driving is really cool. I've been obsessed with it. I took a trip up to Santa Barbara in it to visit some friends, and it was great. Aside from that, honestly, not really much has gone on aside from that. Starting a new D&D campaign, based off the new Baldur's Gate 3, which is gonna be fun. And one of my buddies found out the real truth of Umineko, and is grieving. And I won't elaborate because Higurashi podcast.
Yeah.
But it's been a journey.
I'm sure.
Took him 2 years and now he knows everything, pretty much.
A very satisfying point.
Yeah.
Found it out the right way, I hope. Read through to the...
Definitely found it out the right way. Yeah. We're like mid episode 7, and it just clicked on him, what everything that has been being said, what it means, and what it implies. Yeah. And he had a bit of a crisis.
Love the galaxy brain moment.
Yeah. I got many messages about it, and it was wonderful.
That's really why that moment is why we get people to read Umineko.
It really is. He's gonna need some recovery time, but I'm excited to continue.
That's
with them.
awesome.
Speak for yourselves. I get people to read Umineko so I can drag them onto a podcast and talk to them about it for hours.
So true.
I mean, that would be the ideal situation. That would imply that I can get any of my friends to sit down and talk for that long about it.
Yeah.
But that's why I have y'all. I have been up to not much. I've been working, which is life, I suppose. My roommates and I last night watched the finale of Riverdale. We have not watched any of it other than the finale. It was crazy. It's an off-the-rails show, and I do not understand what is going on in it, and it was an enjoyable finale. Yeah, that's really all I've been up to.
Riverdale's wild.
Yeah, especially, like, just only having watched the first 2 seasons and then not watching any of the rest.
Right.
Yeah.
Having not seen Riverdale, that's the one that's like the Archie comics, right?
Yes, but shit goes off the walls very quickly.
There's a point where there are like 2 cults in Riverdale at the same time trying to fight for dominance, and one of them harvests organs to keep the cult leader's like wife alive, and the other one is based off a haunted game of Dungeons and Dragons.
That did happen. I guess I also did watch the 3rd season, if I remember that.
Yeah, and then the cult leader builds himself a rocket to escape into space to escape the police. The first cult leader, not the Dungeons and Dragons one.
Well, in case you're wondering, spoilers for the finale of Riverdale. They, in season 7, we learned in the finale, they went back in time, and all 4 of them are in a quad relationship. Right. And yeah, it's crazy.
Love that for them.
Okay. Well, I've been sitting here trying to think of what I've done for the last couple of weeks, and I don't think I've done very much. I'm still reading Fata Morgana. I think I'm nearly there. But like, right, I was reading before the podcast started, and like there was just another twist in the story. I don't think it'll be like a story changing one, but it was just another thing that it's just been a roller coaster this weekend. Like every single time I sit down to read, it's like different than what I expect. Which is a good thing. It's been good.
I really need to read Fata Morgana.
Me as well.
I keep saying I'll read it, and then I keep getting distracted.
Yeah.
And forgetting about it.
Life is busy, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
The listeners of the podcast are probably tired of hearing me say this for like every episode of everything for the last like 10 episodes that I've been reading Fata Morgana, that I've just been very slow reading it. But it's good. It's good. It's a good read. Well, should we move on to the chapter? And
yeah, much quicker than normal.
We don't have much going on in our lives, apparently.
Yeah, like what am I going to talk about? Work? Like
we could talk about food for another half hour, like we did last time.
Oh yeah. Oh, I have something to say about food. Did you guys know there's such a thing as cauliflower rice?
Yes.
I've heard of it, but I've never had it.
I'm pretty sure it's just cauliflower that's been like chopped up into tiny pieces like rice, but
yes.
It is kind of like rice. Like you eat it like rice, or you cook it. I mean, you don't cook it like rice. I just stir fried it, but
it's good. My mom, when she first found out that she was diabetic and she needed to think of replacements, we made a lot of fried rice with cauliflower rice.
Yeah, it like, to be honest with you, I've never really been a fan of cauliflower, but like, I think this is a good way to have it, like chop them to little pieces. I don't know if I'll buy cauliflower rice again, but I might like put a cauliflower in the blender or something. I don't know how they make it. That'll probably make a puree, but I'll figure it out.
Something like that, maybe. Yeah. No, I was trying to think about a joke to make about Satoko and calling it broccoli rice, but I couldn't.
Yeah, broccoli rice. Actually, broccoli rice would probably be nicer.
Yeah, I don't think it would rice as nicely, though.
No, but I like broccoli a lot better than cauliflower.
So, I guess going off of that then, I've been eating baby cauliflower a lot, which sort of tastes like a cross between broccoli and cauliflower, because, fun fact, broccoli and cauliflower are actually the same species of plant. One is just the pollinated version of another. In fact, there are lots of vegetables that are just the same species, but cultivated so that different parts of them grow more in different ways. So, like, all cruciferous vegetables, so that's like Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, are all the same species of vegetable.
Interesting. I never knew that.
They look so different. I guess, yeah, if you pollinated one. I don't know much about gardening, but damn, that's cool.
Yeah. I can't say I've ever had cauliflower.
Do we have a real life Satoko here?
I used to eat broccoli when I was really young, but it's been a hot minute.
Never seen a cauliflower. It's a devil's proof. I refuse to explain.
I've never seen a cauliflower and a broccoli in the same room.
Oh, I think we've that's our quota of small talk.
Our mandatory food tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about cauliflower for like at least 4 minutes, so I think we can move on to the recap.
Phenomenal.
Well, without any further ado, this is we're going to do the chapter summary of the Higurashi Bookclub. There will be spoilers for all of Higurashi, but we will leave Umineko and Ciconia and other spoilers till a section at the end. So yeah, here we go. So it's day 3. Keiichi, Rika, and Mion are chatting at school, and Keiichi brings up the dam construction site. We learn that the dam was cancelled after the entire village gathered together and fought against it. And then the gang all assembles, and they do their induction of Keiichi into the club. And the rules of the club are basically that they play a variety of games with high stakes that are agreed beforehand. The winner gets usually some kind of reward, and the loser gets some kind of heinous punishment. They warn Keiichi not to let his guard down, and that any means necessary may be used to achieve victory. They induct him by playing the first game. It's Old Bachelor, and the stakes are that the loser will be drawn on in permanent marker.
This is such a good scene.
It really is.
So yeah, they deal out the cards and remove one card, and Keiichi quickly clicks that everyone else except him at the table knows what all the cards are. And he realizes that the cards they're playing with are so beat up that there's like marks on every single card, and they can just immediately tell what each one is. And so, unsurprisingly, Keiichi is dead last when they play. Everyone just grabs whatever cards they need and pairs them up. If you haven't played, it's normally Old Maid, where you take out one of the queens, but this is Old Bachelor, where they take out a card randomly.
I thought it was they added a card back in. Was it not? Like they added a joker.
No, they remove a card at random. It's the 7 of diamonds, I think, because they know what it is. So the way it works is like with both Old Maid and Old Bachelor, you deal out all the cards evenly to everyone. It doesn't have to be even though. You just deal out the cards to everyone at the table. And then the person like going in series, each person goes to the person on their left or their right or whatever, on person on their left, and picks a card, and the aim is to like pair off cards. So if you have two twos, you can pair them together, and you get rid of your hand that way. And it just goes around in a circle until everyone's paired off a card, but one of the cards doesn't have a pair. In Old Maid, you take out one of the queens. So like the Queen of Spades is the Old Maid.
So you know.
Yeah. So if you have the Queen of whatever the one left over is, like, or if you have a Queen, you know there's one card that you can pair with that, and then there's one card that won't be paired in the Queen. So you potentially have the Old Maid in your hand. And in Old Bachelor, you don't know which card it is until you kind of like down to your last few cards.
I'm trying to remember what the metaphor they used in Arc 8 was for the friend group and Old Bachelor, because I always rationalized it in my thought as they added a Joker in, and so that way, like, no one will ever be left behind and the Joker is Hanyu. But I guess I just misunderstood.
I think it's something like that, if I remember right, because in Old Maid you take out the Joker.
I think it's the Queen. I think at least that's normally how I've seen it.
I have it right up here. Old Bachelor is pretty much the same as Old Maid. There's only one difference. There's no Joker. In its place, one card is pulled out at the start. Meaning there will be one card without a match left over at the end. You don't know which card will end up being the Joker. It's pretty clear.
Okay.
So the Joker, no one knows what it is. I think that's the issue. That's the thing. It's like a little mystery, if you will.
I still don't remember the metaphor and how it relates. I'll have to look it up later.
It might be because they all have like memorized their cards. So like in Old Bachelor, no one's supposed to know what the Joker in quotes is. Whereas like in Old Maid you do, but because they all have like studied these cards and know everyone so well, they do know. It might be something related to that. But I do not remember the exact one. I
mean, given the fact that they know all of the cards so perfectly, I have to imagine that this is a game that they only pull out when there's a new player, which is what twice, like Rena and then Keiichi. Satoshi. So 3 times. They've probably played this game.
I think the club only started like a year before. I think Rena might even have been there when it started.
I mean, if you think of it from the perspective that like everyone knows what all the cards are, like I don't imagine they play this game very often because it doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
I think they might have used to play it a lot, but then they got like so used to the cards and their dinks and dents and stuff that they memorized it. So now it's like only like, you know, we're pulling this out to fuck with you kind of a game.
Yeah.
Because we do know they do have a fresh pack of cards later on. Like,
okay.
Like the next time they play cards.
Right.
They have like a fresh deck. And then Keiichi has like a god complex.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
I believe it.
Yeah. That's like in like day 5 or something.
I mean, I still kind of imagine that they don't play this particular game very often because I don't think there's a whole lot of skill involved in the game.
No.
The skill comes from remembering the cards.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because otherwise it's basically random.
So I'll carry on because Keiichi finishes dead last, but there's a second round.
But because they've all memorized them.
In the second game, Keiichi does an astonishing job of adapting to adverse circumstances and pulls every dirty trick he can think of. So he starts disguising cards behind each other. So that the other players pick a card that they think is you know has a distinctive mark, but he's just like vandalized one of the cards to like so that they think it's the 7 of diamonds because it's got a nail scratch, but he's added a nail scratch to the Queen of Hearts or something, and doing other things like hiding the backs of his cards and you know. So it's kind of I think it's a good introduction to the club and like the kind of things that they do to win. And basically Keiichi I think is getting good marks even if he's doomed to lose because if he came last in the first round, you know.
Well, it's a certain fate that he'll lose. It would take a miracle for him to win.
Yeah, and then Mion offers a miracle. So she offers him 2 cards and she says if you can pick which one is the Joker, then I'll let you win. But if you can't, then you still lose.
I actually love that bit a lot in terms of the greater Higurashi, because it seems like, you know, like just like a little silly scene.
Yeah.
We know when Keiichi picks the card, he starts like overthinking it, right? And he's like, Mion is trying to trick me, like, so I have to like overcomplicate it in my brain. Whereas
Yeah.
like later Mion says like, oh, if you just like went with your gut and picked, whatever, like pick the card, I probably would have lost.
Yeah.
But instead you had to like overthink it and be paranoid about it, which is just like all of Higurashi.
Trust your friends.
Like you lose because you overthink it and you get paranoid and you're like, oh, you're trying to deceive me.
Just enjoy the game with your friends.
Exactly.
Des sent me a take to read in the episode. It is partially Umineko spoilers, I think, so I will leave most of it for that. But part of it was that like Mion, Des definitely reckons like Mion would have been a lot less happy if Keiichi had just like been oh yeah, this is the card, I'll just pick the Joker, the one that everyone says is the Joker. I'm just going to take the Joker. I think like Mion is very pleased that Keiichi like thought that hard about the game and actually put some effort in, and like
he's an active participant.
Yeah,
and it shows that he's like really getting into it, and which validates Mion's feelings, I think.
As well, I mean, I guess the only thing that would have been better is if he'd like gone the extra step and been like, but I think they're tricking me, and like gone back the other way and just picked the card that was obviously the Joker. I mean, like maybe that would have been better because he would have won and he would have got a respect, but he definitely would have lost. I think he would have lost some respect if he'd just gone straight for the Joker and been like, everyone says it's the Joker, so I'll pick it.
It's similar to when he's overthinking the trap earlier, Satoko's trap, and
True.
Completely overlooks the... I guess not super similar, but I don't know. It would be interesting to like keep account of every time Keiichi overthinks things and just really like noticing that.
Keiichi overthinking counter.
Yeah.
Should we start that? That could be our new thing, right? Keiichi overthinking counter is at 2, I think, right now.
I believe we're at 2. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about to start going crazy when we start getting into later bits.
Okay. Keiichi fails his chance. Mion, I guess in the end, was just holding the Joker in that. Actually, sorry, before we move on, the other thought I had when I first read this, and I still remember it now, was like the way she says it is like, I'll hold 2 cards in my hand, like or 1 card in each hand, and if you can tell me which one is the Joker, then you win, and if it's not the Joker, then you lose. And he's like, oh, well, how do I know you didn't like take the Joker out when you turned your back? And she's like, oh, well, I'll show you the other card when, like, I'll show you both cards. But like, she at no point does she say like, I have got a Joker in one of my hands. Like, she could have taken the card out, and then like he picks the other card, and it's like, oh, it's the 7. What's the other card? Oh, it's the 8. Where was the Joker? Oh, no, I wasn't going to actually give you a chance to win.
That would be the very... does the existence of Beatrice count as an Umineko spoiler?
Let's say no.
I mean, Beatrice exists.
So true.
As they say.
It's a very Beato way of approaching it.
I guess it's good that she didn't do that, but I thought it would be funny.
Because I think it's also like a trust thing, because like... not to get like too into Umineko, but like they both have like heavy themes of trust and like believing in someone else or understanding someone else. So Keiichi kind of trusts Mion is going to play this game fair in that moment of like, okay, yeah, she'll show me the other hand to prove it, but like it's no fun if there's no like actual way to win. And like there was an actual way to win. Like it felt impossible at first because like Keiichi didn't know all the cards, but like he started realizing, oh, I just have to think outside the box, I have to play a little dirty. So he starts pulling out those little tricks and stuff, and he actually starts like gaining some ground and stuff. Like he figured out how to play the game. They were just playing a different game than the one he was expecting.
Yeah, there's an interesting like dual, opposing forces of like trusting that the others will follow the rules, but also innovating outside of those rules, but trusting that the others will also innovate outside of the rules, and sort of like, a very interesting like camaraderie of chaos.
All right, so Keiichi loses, and unspeakable things are drawn on his face in permanent marker, and the Keiichi and Mion walk home.
Yes.
And he tries to ask Mion about the dismemberment incident, but Mion shuts him down too. And the way she tells it, the battle for the dam was won by demonstration and lobbying of the government. Yeah, peaceful protest, no violence here.
Yeah, protesting.
Says, there wasn't any like violence or... Nope, none of that. None. So Keiichi heads out to the dam site, and he finds Rena excavating Colonel Randy. Keiichi tries to get stuck in and be like, I'm a man. I'm gonna do it all myself. He tries to dig out Colonel Randy, but all he really succeeds in doing is tiring himself out. So Rena disappears for a bit to get some barley tea. And then Keiichi, while he's just hanging around, he finds some newspapers, and he searches through them until he finds one that describes the dismemberment incident.
So convenient that these magazines are not, like, weathered or... Because it has to be, like, 5 years old at this point. Like, who would be writing a paper on a...
I mean, it could be they were preserved, like, underneath something. I mean, he was, like, kind of digging them out of stuff.
That's true. Just, like, 5 years is a long time.
Yeah. I mean, if I went to a rubbish dump site, I wouldn't necessarily expect to just, like, if I searched long enough, I could find a newspaper from 5 years ago.
But I suppose this is also the middle of nowhere.
Recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Small towns like that are kind of different.
It's also like Japan, so I imagine instead of like people would probably do like in other countries, but like they just throw the tabloids into the rubbish dump. They're probably like tied up with. Actually, I think it says they're tied up with string, so they're actually like a stack of papers like kind of secured together, so that you know if they collected the tabloids between those years, then they'd all be there, I imagine.
Yeah, that checks out. And then also, like, if you're searching through that bundle, the stuff like in between like the top and the bottom is probably going to be a bit more preserved than the stuff like on the top. Like, it's not going to be like wet away.
And I don't know, like, it's the 80s, right? So like, do glossy magazines exist, or are we still talking like paper?
I feel like it would. I mean, I don't know why I'm acting as if I know. I was not alive then. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like they must have. Like, think about like comic books.
True.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, he finds the report, and so as he's reading through the details of a murder and dismemberment with a hatchet, Keiichi looks up and he sees Rena standing over him with a hatchet, and he freaks the fuck out. Rena isn't there to dismember him, so she apologizes for startling him, and they head home. But Keiichi smuggles out the tabloid in his jacket. And that's the end of the third day. We have 2 tips. The first tip is called the Hinamizawa Dam Incident. So we learn more about the dam project and like the opposition, how the opposition was organized, how it was called the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance. And it says, although the alliance was disbanded with the cancellation of the dam project, it remains ready to oppose any threats to Hinamizawa.
Secret mafia militia.
Yeah. And then the second one is the tabloid report that Keiichi was reading. And it just gives more details on how the event occurred. So we learn that the foreman was like swinging a shovel around, and so the suspects armed themselves and killed him in response. And we learned that the ringleader of the killers suggested that they all take a piece and hide it, so that he had leverage, or that they all had leverage on each other, to prevent one person from ratting everybody out. But one person did anyway, and most of the suspects were arrested, but the ringleader was never found. His car was found abandoned by the bottomless marsh, and never been found. So, spooky.
It's really crazy that we literally get like basically the entire truth of what happened right here in this tip.
Yeah. Because, like, we did have, like, pretty much everyone except the ringleader got, like, turned in and, like, confessed to the crime. So we do know, like, the real actual story. It's just, like, there's so much, like, conspiracy around Hinamizawa, like, especially when we start getting into, like, the curse stuff where, like, it just kind of gets overshadowed and you don't realize, oh, wait, no, that was true. Yeah. Like, you think there's got to be more to it. But that's kind of, like, part of, like, the paranoia that, like, Higurashi, like, instills. Like, like, you start getting into conspiracy brain as well. Where you're like, no, it can't be that simple. There has to be some deeper thing going on here. Which, I mean, like, there is, but not related to that, Yeah. Higurashi does this thing where it's, like, it makes you distrust a lot of the things you read, and then you're like, wait a minute, no. I should have trusted what the text told me.
Trust your friends, don't trust the government.
True. The moral of Higurashi.
I mean, I think there's one thing that, like, is left unsaid but kind of implied, which is that he threw himself into the bottomless marsh, which isn't exactly true, because, like, I think we know he gets taken by the secret...
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
the secret organization under the area clinic, so, yeah. But I mean, everything else. I mean, it's not like they ever said that he threw himself into the marsh. It's just kind of left implied.
Yeah, it's just the implication.
Do we know, is the bottomless marsh, I mean, it's obviously not literally bottomless, but I know Keiichi throws that motorbike into the bottomless marsh and it just goes shoo, and gets sucked right up. Do we ever get an answer?
Yeah, I think it just, like, it might be, like, dark and kind of deep and, like, the mud under there probably, like, just, like, fucking sucks stuff up. It's kind of hard to, like, go through, because it's not like it's, like, a lake or anything, like, where you can kind of, like, swim through. Like, it's thicker if it's, like, a marsh kind of thing.
It's a swamp river, it looks like.
Yeah, so, like, stuff just, like, not only does it go underwater, but it probably also kind of gets buried, sinking into the mud and stuff, so it's probably a lot harder to find evidence of stuff around there.
Alright, so we'll move on to day 4 then, unless anyone has any more thoughts.
Just, you know, Rena showing up with the hat after that. I just think it's silly.
I love that.
I just wanted to touch upon it. Like, giving Keiichi the jump scare of a lifetime.
Yeah.
I also really love, I think this is, like, one of the things that everyone here has seen Go. I feel like I shouldn't ask, because who cares, but Higurashi Go.
I haven't seen it, but go ahead anyway.
Nah, I've seen it. I went deep in it.
Okay. The first arc is sort of like an inversion of Onikakushi, where Rena is actually being sus, and it's such an interesting subversion where, like, she is using her hatchet in the site and Keiichi's paranoia is founded, and it's just, like, really interesting seeing the way that they directed that versus the way that, like, this scene is being portrayed, and, like, how in both of them you could really, like, read the scene either way, which I think, like, really goes to show, like, I don't know, they show paranoia really well in the VN.
They do, yeah.
I mean, are we reasonably...
Like, can't blame Keiichi for being a little paranoid.
Are we reasonably agreed that, like, Rena doesn't actually go home when she runs off to get barley tea? Like, she probably runs to
her little car.
Yeah. I mean, and she probably keeps the hatchet there.
Yeah.
Which, like, I can't remember if there's, like, a stated reason why she keeps a hatchet there, but, I mean, I know it comes up.
I mean, she keeps it there in Arc 6 because that's what she uses to kill.
Yeah. But I don't think that happens.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens in this one, because I feel like it maybe she just kills them and gets away with it, but I feel like it's implied that if she does kill them, that's, like, the beginning of the end for, like, Rena in terms of L5.
She might have considered it
if
and
Rena kills him.
Oh yeah, and stored it there anyway.
Yeah,
just like as like I might go through with this kind of thing. I also think it might be possible that with all her little dumpster diving and stuff and, like, collecting trash, it might be handy to have, like, a kind of tool there to, like, break through some debris if she has to. But I do think it's also very possible that she was considering killing Rena.
I think the Rena Tepe stuff is really interesting to think about happening in the background, because I feel like all of the Rena stuff, like, theoretically could happen in most situations other than the ones where Shion does stuff. And, you know, I it's interesting to think in which ones Rena might have been able to kill.
Yeah, because I don't feel like Rena killed anyone in Onikakushi. I do think, though, it is very possible that, like, you know, stuff is going on in the background, and that could be part of her, like, sus behavior that's making Keiichi paranoid. But, like, because Keiichi is paranoid and his friends are kind of worried about him, it might pull Rena away from doing anything drastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the other thing is, if she's going to, like, somewhere in the dam site, explains why Keiichi is, like, maybe not expecting her, because she's, like, gone and comes back really fast when he's expecting her to go home. Mm-hmm. And he probably, like, I think he knows where she lives, because he must have gone to her house. Not, like, into her house, but...
I don't think he's been to her house at this point. I think he mentions going there maybe, like, day 4, day 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
right.
So we'll get there.
I believe so.
But either way, I'm pretty sure most houses are a bit further away, and we know Rena probably lives closer to where Keiichi is because of how they meet up together to school.
So if nothing else, he'd know, like, her house is further away than, like, being within the dump site.
Yeah.
Alrighty, shall I move on to day 4?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, so we open up with a PE class, and the club decide, seeing as PE class involves like letting the kids outside just like run around and exhaust themselves, they decide they're going to play zombie tag. So Satoko is the one who ends up being it, because Mion gives them more words to say, and she gives Satoko... I would like to know... I kind of wish Mushroom was here, actually, because I kind of want to know, like, is this different in the Japanese? Like,
what's the... I believe it was the same, because they're doing the English translation.
Yeah, in the English version, I think what they say is, like, what does this English word mean? No, what does this Japanese word mean in English?
Or maybe, I mean, like, it could go either way, because, like, it could be, like, okay, what does this word mean in English? Or they could be saying, what does this, English word mean, in Japanese? It could go
I just
either
remember
way.
thinking it would, like, if it was a literal translation, I feel like it would feel a little more awkward. Because I think in the English version,
maybe.
she says, like, what does the word roku mean in English? Which, like, I feel like the way it works, because Satoko ends up being unable to say the word sex, and so probably, like, Mion is like, what does the English word sex mean in Japanese? And then that would be the word that would be hard for Satoko to say. You get what I'm saying? Whereas if she had, like, I feel like if she knew the English word for it, it would be a lot easier to say a word that you don't use often for sex, if that makes sense.
Yeah, or it could just be Satoko, like, not wanting to, like, say it, like, being either embarrassed or not knowing because she's so young.
Yeah.
Or, with unfortunate implied things with Teppei, maybe just not being able to actually muster to say it because of trauma reasons.
Yeah.
So there's a lots of reasons why Satoko just wouldn't be able to talk about it or say it or say what it means.
But, like, I think that was the reason why, like, because I agree with you. I think it's because it's just embarrassing, or more than that. But
yeah,
I think that would only apply to the Japanese word, not the English word, because it's kind of like, I don't know, like, if you guys ever played the game where you, like you and a friend just pick a really, like, rude word and you, like, say it one by one louder than the other.
Yes. In America, I think we call it the penis game.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if that was going to translate, so I didn't want to say. But yes, it's also called the penis game in New Zealand. And it was a mainstay of high school, where you'd just be like anywhere in school and you just randomly hear two people yelling penis at each other. But you think, like, if that... I don't know what the Japanese word for penis is, but, like, nobody would care if you were saying, a word that you don't use, if that makes sense. So I don't think Satoko would feel as embarrassed about saying it if it was, like, not a word that meant anything to her particularly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, but I also know, like, people, like, do tend to use, like, English words and phrases a lot. Over in Japan, just, like, in casual speech.
See you
cool,
again.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you again. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
So, like, I do think, like, it could also just be why they're able to, like, answer what the words are, whether they're asking for the English word or the Japanese word for the English word. Like, either way, I think it works.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like, Satoko gets picked it, which is probably a good thing, because I feel like Satoko as not it would be, like, unbeatable. Because, like...
She'd be so good.
Because she could just set up traps.
Yeah.
And hole up in a corner of the
She doesn't
school
need to
somewhere.
set them up. She already has them set up.
Yeah, true. Yeah, she just run into the mountains.
That's true. Because I was about to say, like, if they immediately know and go after Sadako first, she won't have time. But let's be real. She has traps all over the school. She's prepared.
Yeah. Satoko's like Batman if he always had preparation time. So yeah. So Sadako goes first. She's like, she's it first, and she's going to count to 100, but Keiichi's like, no, I know how this works. You're going to go 1, 2, miss a few, 99, 100. So he gives her a word problem instead, which is the classic, like, if an electric train's driving from east to west at 100 miles per hour and there's a 10 mile per hour headwind, how fast does the smoke billow behind? Because there's no smoke. Anyway, yeah, the question...
It's a non-riddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, question designed to make you think about it, even though the answer is said in the problem itself.
Yeah.
And it's not based on the numbers at all.
Yeah.
It's a question of logic.
Those mean math questions on your quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also want to mention that, like, I don't know if this is the Saturday schooling at work, but Satoko, who, like, I think we decided was, like, 8, 10, something like that.
Probably around
12.
that area.
Yeah, I mean, she immediately, like, jumps into trying to solve this, like, supposedly mathematical problem, which, like, I wouldn't even try if I was that age. I'd be like, what? And then maybe I'd figure it out, like how many cakes are left on the plate when you finish eating is 0. But like,
I think I'd need scratch paper.
I wouldn't even have started to try and answer a question like that at like 8 years old. I want to say, you know.
I think it's the determination of the club, you know.
Yeah.
Like she can't be beat.
I guess, yeah. I mean, we don't know how seriously she's trying to solve it. Like, you know, she knows the word denominator, which, to be fair, I probably should have known when I was 8, and maybe I did, but I feel like I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, you learn fractions in like 4th and 5th grade. That's when I was learning stuff.
Yeah, you learn them. I probably couldn't tell you which one was the denominator and which one was the numerator, even though I've been taught.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, maybe I'm underestimating myself.
The numerator is north, the denominator is down.
Oh, that's a good way of thinking
That's so
about it.
smart.
Mnemonics.
But yeah, so she tries to solve the problem, and by the time she's figured out what that the problem was really just something to get her to think about while they all ran away, she heads out. So yeah, I mean they play zombie tag. I mean, just running around the school. Anyone who gets caught also joins Satoko as being it. So you know, you kind of can't trust anybody. Keiichi, I think, tries to jump on the roof, or he does jump on the roof, but he kind of gets cornered in that way.
Yeah, there was a moment when he was trying to, like, cause problems by, like, sending fake messages, that, like, you know, like, Mion
yes.
and Satoko need to go to the front gate. But the message that he tells one of the girls to send to Satoko is that her parents are at the gate.
Oh no.
I'm just like, oh no, Keiichi.
But the message is also relayed. Like,
Yeah.
let's think about, like, in a small town, like, and also because, like, the Hojos were hated by most of the village. Like, think about how cruel, like, the people who were relaying the message are.
Because, like, Keiichi doesn't know, but if you're thinking about it, like, either, like, you know, Satoko's, like, little town freak, no one, like, you know, wants to socialize with her, talk about her, and if they're, like, younger kids, they may not fully, like, know what the deal is there, or they're being mean to Satoko. Like, they're just like, oh, an opportunity to bully Satoko? Let's go. Fuck them Hojo kids.
And then Keiichi's like, why not throw Mion under the bus too?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, but like for Mion, he's like, oh, the teacher is calling her at the gate. And I was like, you can use that for Satoko? I mean, I know you don't know, but I just thought it was really funny, in like a terrible way.
I mean, I think Mion starts it, right? Like someone comes to Keiichi and says like, "Oh, your house is on fire" or something.
No, they do that in revenge for Keiichi sending the messages. Because what happens is, you know, like Keiichi sends the messages out to Satoko and Mion, and they get the messages, and they know that he's probably bullshitting. So they're just like, okay, send these messages to Keiichi. And he has like a bunch of people like swarming and looking for him.
With a bunch of different messages.
Push him out of an area and like corner him. Because like, you know, if they like are looking for him and they find him, then they'll know that he was found so they can go get him and make him a zombie. If they're like, yeah, his mom suddenly got sick, a jumbo jet fell on top of his residence, the police have come for him.
Yeah.
And just like a bunch of stuff.
He's a pervert.
Yeah, the pervert one. And then he's like, no! And he starts like having a breakdown. He's like, I'm not a pervert, I swear, even though I have perverted thoughts.
Yeah. I also wanted to say, like, I want to highlight a couple of lines. Zombie Rika-chan turned 180 degrees exorcist style and glared at me. Like, I don't know any way to interpret that except that, like, Rika can, like, turn her head like an owl, like 180 degrees.
I mean, yeah, she snapped her neck and died and went to the next loop. That's why we don't see her after for the latter half of the story.
I mean, you know, like, I don't know what exorcist style is meant to mean here.
She's like, I've already given up.
Like, if he just means that she turned around, like, you can do that without the exorcist style thing. Like,
I think Keiichi was just very scared of this tiny little child.
Yeah.
With good reason.
With very good reason. I'd be scared too. And then, you know, they're all talking about how they're going to eat his guts and, like, rip them out and stuff. Very Watanagashi core.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna just say, like, because Mion and Satoko then come right after this scene with Rena and Rika and Keiichi. How do you think Mion, like, convinced Satoko that she was tagged. I guess that's skipping forward to the fact that Mion was never actually tagged.
It could be that Satoko only started believing that after she tagged Rika. So, like, I don't remember how the scene exactly goes down, but, like, you know, if, like, Mion is, like, kind of, like, hiding around, and Satoko, eventually, like, gets Rika, then, Mion could be like, oh, Rika tagged me, and if she's talking to Rika, she'd be like, oh, Satoko tagged me.
I mean, I think this was a classic one, like, whenever we played zombie tag at school. Like, you just tag somebody anyway, because eventually someone like tries to claim it. The problem with it in that environment was I always used to play zombie tag with like practically the whole class. Like this was like in kind of like intermediate, like middle school, is what you'd call it. And like there'd be like 30 people. So at the end of it, like you could definitely maybe get away with it unless someone like safety tags you anyway. Just like, oh well, I'm sure you've already tagged, but you know, like slaps you on the back, like, you know, just in case you're it. So that was always a risk. But even if you did manage to convince everyone, you get to the end and they'd be like, cool, game's over, we caught everyone, and you could be like, whoa, I was not it the whole time. And then, like, the problem is, maybe not everyone believes you, because there's so many people, and they're like, well, you know, I didn't tag you, but, like, someone might have.
Someone might have, yeah.
Yeah. Like, you never really got, what do you call it, like, acknowledgement. I guess, like, you know, it could just be that you're lying, but definitely, like, with this many people, like, you know, you just have to ask, like, you know, the other 3 people, did you tag me? 3 people? 4 people?
Let's be real, they were all very, very focused on hunting Keiichi down.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
He's a great prey.
Yeah, listen, they got fresh meat, they gotta bully him, that's, like, their number 1 goal right now.
And so they catch Keiichi, and then the only person left is Rena, and they have her cornered. And then there's a very suspect line here. Rena had stumbled onto a mat, trembling with tears in her eyes. I closed in, associating the situation with a similar, particularly immoral one. Made my pulse quicken just a little bit.
It's just like, why?
Why, Keiichi? Come on.
Yeah.
Why Keiichi, but also, like, why Ryukishi?
Yeah. I think it kind of comes back to what we were saying, like, in the kind of the first couple of episodes. Or maybe I just listened to it on the Higurashi thoughts. Like, he kind of he straddles a fine line between writing kids being like, you know, being normal, I guess, but like also maybe just, I don't know, sexualizing a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I just feel like you can imply the fact that it's similar without just outright stating it, you know?
Yeah, I think, because Rikishi very much, like, gets better at, like, kind of subtly implying things a little bit, like, later down, but this is just, like, did you really have to just, like, explicitly say it, even if you did want to allude for it for whatever reason? I
mean, like, what ends up happening is, like, because of this moment, he hesitates, and then the bell rings, and, like, Rena's safe.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like that part,
which is why I think, like, I wouldn't take it out, but like the fact that he explicitly like calls it out, like with that line, like the particularly immoral one, like it's just like we'll read into it without you putting the image in our head, you know?
Like,
because Keiichi does, like, you know, like, later go, like, oh, my sense of reason chimed in, the beast inside me died instantly, was just kind of like, oh, I don't want to, like, hurt my friend, she looks like actually scared, which is, you know, one of her tactics. Meanwhile, like, everyone else is, like, ready to pounce on her, and then, you know, the second the bell rings, everyone's like, yay, I win! Which is fucked up of her.
What a queen.
She is a queen.
So after that the game ends. Mion reveals that she'd never been tagged, so I guess Rena and Mion are the joint winners. And Keiichi grabs his stuff. He heads home, but doesn't plan to stay. He's going to go straight on to the dump site. And we get this wonderful line. His mum asks him where he's going. He says, I'm doing a bit of excavating, so my classmate doesn't become a criminal. And his mum goes, oh, well, don't be out too late.
Love the parents. They do not give... They will leave him for days. Especially, they'll leave him after he expresses that he might kill himself.
Yeah, I mean, this comes in later on.
Or that he might die.
They're like, oh, that Keiichi, so dramatic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot funnier at this point, but it's actual characterization of his parents that, what can you say? It was the 80s.
Yeah, because, like, I feel like they probably had neglected his needs, like, for a while. Like, given, you know, like, he got to the point where, like, he was doing some pretty shitty things in order to, like, vent his, like, stress at his school. It is very possible that that only happened because it escalated to a point because his parents may not have been taking him seriously.
Yeah.
And then when things got, like, too carried away and he got caught and got in trouble, they were like, oh, well, we'll just move and it'll solve the problems. But they never actually, like, sat down and worked it out with him.
Yeah. I will say at this point only, and I'm not talking about later on, because I think there is really a case for his parents needed to step up in that later case. But for this one, I think his parents probably can tell the difference between, like, Keiichi is, like, enjoying life and, like, it just wants to go hang out with his friends, and, like, his parents can probably read that in this part, like the bit of excavating so my classmate doesn't become a criminal. Like, we know Keiichi like jokes about this shit all the time. I mean, like Tomitake was the recipient last, you know, a couple of days ago.
So I suppose later then I guess that makes sense why his parents wouldn't freak out when he said, like, if I die, bury me with the clock.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
They're like, you make morbid jokes like that all the time, Keiichi.
Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly what I was going to say. The whole, like, joking about morbid things and, like, you know, just, like, saying stuff like, oh, so I'm doing this and my classmate doesn't become a criminal, or, like, oh, I might die. Like, they probably just view it as him, like, over-exaggerating if he makes those jokes all the time, which makes sense why they don't really take it seriously, and they're just like, all right, have a good day.
At the same time, you know, yeah, I guess they have had reason in the past to be cautious, but yeah, I definitely feel like there must be a complete difference in Keiichi's demeanor between what he was like in the city and what he's like in Hinamizawa. I just get the feeling like, you know, and it's in the text, is like he's a lot happier here. He's like, you know, he's actually enjoying life. He's got friends. He's like, you know,
probably a lot more energetic.
Yeah, he's not living just for like getting
friends.
Good grades, which he doesn't really care about anyway.
Do they even have grades at this school?
At the school? Yeah, I mean, they're probably too young. They're probably too young to be... I mean, I'm basing this on my own school system, but he's probably not yet taking senior school kind of exams. Like, for us, we only took them in the last 3 years of high school. So if that's the same in Japan...
It probably...
But I just feel like their school is so destructured in general that, like what sorts of assessments do they even have?
I mean, it might be like a pass-fail kind of a thing.
True.
Like, you turn in your work, you did a decent job, we got most of your answers right, you pass. If not, then you fail and you need to, like, review stuff. To also make it, like, simpler on, like, you know, the teachers and stuff like that. Or a teacher, pretty much.
I mean, I think, like...
Their school is so wild.
Yeah, it is. Which, I mean, I really like that for them. Like, I feel like if that kind of school happened, existed in New Zealand, like, it would get clamped down really quick, because, like, you know, you can't teach people like that. But you also can imagine if it's like Rena, Keiichi, and Mion are really the only senior students, and if they do have like national exams, like in definitely in New Zealand, like if you wanted to, if you were a really like focused student, you probably would be able to, like, not saying that the school would get away with it, but you probably could, if your school wasn't doing their job, you probably could get hold of the internal examinations that you needed to do and like organize with your teacher to sit them and like kind of teach yourself the material and stuff. Like, it is possible, and we know Keiichi is like probably quite far ahead of where he needs to be, so he's probably able to, like, you know, quite easily pick up everything he doesn't already know and then teach that to the... And we know he does teach Mion and Rena. So, like, I guess what I'm saying is I could see the school not getting picked up as quickly because the senior students are actually taking it on themselves to make sure that, like, there's no reason to investigate, if that makes sense. Like, they just kind of take care of enrolling themselves for... And again, I don't know how the exam system works in Japan, but yeah, it's kind of chaotic in New Zealand, but I won't get into the NCEA system. Yeah, so sorry, that's a huge tangent. So we were talking about Keiichi leaves a morbid joke and then runs out, and then he runs into Tomitake again,
our favorite bird watcher.
Yeah, once again around the dam site area. He's hiding from Rena because he saw her running around laughing with a smile and a hatchet.
I would be hiding from her too.
And Keiichi says, don't worry, she's just wandering around looking for more victims.
Do you think he's just like investigating right now and that's why he's keeps like coming back to watch them?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I think so. Cause like I think, you know, like, cause he's working for Mio and the whole like Irie bullshit. So I think it's very possible that like he's heading around and like taking pictures and stuff in order to look out for people developing signs of Hinamizawa syndrome.
And Keiichi talking about his friend killing someone or being a criminal is a little sus.
Is very suspect. Yeah. So I think Jiro's just kind of like making sure like nothing is actually like dangerous going on, and like the whole smiling hatchet thing kind of had him being like, shouldn't be around there because that might be a sign, given that the festival's coming up. And Rena has been mentally unstable in the past.
Does Tomitake, he knows about all the sacrifices and like the truth behind that. Yeah,
he has to.
Yeah.
And so, Keiichi, not only does he say that, he says, if you were to be killed out here, she's probably the one who would do it. Try not to snoop too much around here. And then he walks off, and Tomitake's like, hey, was that a threat?
Tomitake's like, what the fuck, child?
Yeah. Which, I mean...
Who do you think you are?
It's interesting, isn't it? Like, I feel like Hinamizawa, it has this air, because Keiichi picks up on it. It definitely has this, like, there's insiders here and there's outsiders, and, like, outsiders should just toe the line and you know, and we'll be polite until we're not. Like, there's there's definitely this, like... atmosphere there, I suppose.
It's interesting that what you're saying, and like Keiichi already considers himself an insider despite only being here like a few months.
Well, I don't know if that's true, because he definitely like reverses that. If he does feel like an insider, he starts to reverse that pretty quick in the next few chapters, but we'll get to that.
Oh yeah.
I think he just gets really comfortable with his buddies. Like he's in a good mood, he's having fun, he's playing all these games, and then suddenly he feels left out of stuff that makes him feel like, oh, I am an outsider.
And I think the reason why it's sort of like, you know, he's able to assert that outsiderness on Tomitake because Tomitake is more of an outsider than he is even. So he's sort of like, it's ingratiating him into the town, but then he realizes it's all for naught.
I mean, he definitely, like, Tomitake is definitely an outsider. Like, we know he only comes here around the Watanagashi time, you know, and under the pretense that he takes photos around this time of year. So, yeah, like, definitely, like, Tomitake could interpret that as, like, okay, Keiichi's an insider, and he is threatening outsiders to, you know, just be careful and don't snoop around too much, you know. Like, I guess it makes sense from Tomitake's perspective, except for the fact that, like, he's kind of more of an insider than anybody else is. Like, he knows exactly what's going on here.
He has insider information, but, like, that's because Hinamizawa isn't responsible for what's going on.
But I guess from the perspective that he's looking for L5 symptoms, he might be, like, kind of suspicious of Keiichi. But to be honest, I don't know if at this point Keiichi is showing any real... Even Rena, I don't think either of them are actually very suspicious at all. And I don't know if... Yeah. I'm not sure what's going through Tomitake's head at the moment.
Yeah. I just think seeing a child giddily, heading to a remote location that's known to be kind of dangerous and kind of isolated from the rest of the town with a big old hatchet smiling is a little concerning, especially considering the Satoshi situation a while back where another child took a weapon and went to a remote area and killed someone.
Right, and he was also seemingly fine up until right before, like, he cracked, so...
Yeah, I mean, and I guess it also comes back to, like, we know Rena is, like, probably not having a fun time at home, and like Tomitake might know some of that. Like he might be kind of aware that there's a potential risk. I don't know. It's interesting how much these people know and how much they don't know. But yes, either way, I mean, he definitely makes a point of like taking Keiichi seriously on, and again, it is very weird how Keiichi just uncannily has the ability to like hit very close to the bone with every kind of, like, throwaway remark. Like, that, like, you know...
Because Keiichi, in his, like, gut is always really right, but then he just starts overthinking stuff.
Yeah, true.
He's attuned to miracles.
Yeah.
It's when he starts, like, overthinking stuff and, like, trying to, like, you know, like, put more or, like, meaning into something than there is when he starts, like, fucking up. But, like, Keiichi naturally is pretty intuitive, I think.
Yeah.
And also just, like, lucky guesser. It's, like, the same thing as the card thing before, where, like, Miana's like, oh, Keiichi, if you just, like, you know, went with your gut and picked whatever card that your gut instinct was, you would have beat me, but you didn't.
Because, like, the crew are on the side of miracles in in this fragment, you know, and certainty is the power of the enemy. So if anybody ever tries to like work hard and achieve something, it's gonna go horribly wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just gotta sit back and wait for something good to happen.
Yeah, that's the ticket. Anyway, so Keiichi moves on. He meets up with Rena, and he asks her, you know, what caused her to move to Hinamizawa, and she very pointedly, but kind of not highlighted so hard in the text, but she just doesn't answer the question. She just goes like, "Oh, what made you move to Hinamizawa?" And like,
"No, you."
Yeah, like, you know, and Keiichi's like, "Oh, I guess I'll answer the question," but like, he doesn't dwell too much on the fact that like she just like ignores the question and just asks him.
Pulls out the Uno reverse.
Why he moved. I don't remember, but I don't think he tells her very much either. Like,
he says because
of his family, right?
Yeah. Mainly he says because of his father.
They're both dodgy.
Yeah, when
being a painter / hentai artist.
Yeah, when arguably I feel like Keiichi might actually be the main reason why they moved. Yeah. Like I think his family does like have a separate reason for wanting to be in Hinamizawa,
yes.
But like
definitely.
I think they were gonna move. And it was just a matter of, like, where does Keiichi move to? Or, like, where do the Maibaras move to? Because I think they just wanted out of the city. They wanted to go to a new place. But it may not have been Hinamizawa. So the fact that they moved out of the city...
I mean, we know it doesn't have to be Hinamizawa. I feel like probably in the fragments where Keiichi doesn't move to Hinamizawa, I feel like they definitely probably still leave the city.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Keiichi's gun arc is pretty certain.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, after that, he chops up the wood with the hatchet, and he gets Colonel Randy out, and then we get this, like, nice line. And so Jack and Jill went down the hill, carrying a human-sized bag and an unsheathed hatchet. I prayed we wouldn't run into Tomitake-san. If he saw us here and took a picture, we'd need to get rid of him. Lol. And that's the end of the fourth day. I mean,
God.
I do appreciate Keiichi's sense of humor. I think these jokes would be very funny if it wasn't for the fact that he was like,
it's really funny,
always joking about things that are just very close to home in Hinamizawa.
Things you really shouldn't joke about.
Yeah.
I think it makes the whiplash when his jokes turn to paranoia like a lot more fun, because right now he's joking about the situation, but later it definitely, like, I don't know. It's interesting just seeing him being able to joke about it at this point.
Yeah, it's true. Like, definitely these kinds of jokes go away, and what takes their place is like absolutely insane gibbering about like who's in on it, and yeah. All right. So at the end of the day, we get one final tip, and then that's the end of the fourth day and the end of my summary. Because I didn't write any more. This tip is called "What kind of name is Rena?" And basically just we learn that Rena's real name is Reina, with an I. But that she prefers a nickname. And, like, Mion is very cool in the scene. She's just like, Keiichi, just call her Rena. Like, that's all there is to it, really. Don't pry. But she says it nicely. She doesn't say it in, like, this isn't like nothing happened in 1980.
It's just like, why do you have any reason to question it, Keiichi? Like, it's her name.
Yeah.
It's just what she wants to go by.
Yeah. Like,
which is why it's crazy when I see people dead naming Elliot Page on Twitter all the time. I'm like, it's a name. It's what he chose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting to think about like Rena and names and the trans allegory there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially kind of like, you know, like moving like back to Hinamizawa like after leaving and like being changed like kind of like as a person and like going by a new name, and everyone's just kind of like, oh, guess that's the change.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't think Mion like actually knows the like the reason behind why Rena changed her name. Like, I think
Probably
she just
not.
knows like Rena really strongly identifies as being called Rena. And that's all that matters to her, which is incredibly cool.
Very interesting also thinking about like Rena's attachment to a different name, also thinking about like Mion's attachment to a name that is not her own, but sort of like, I don't know, like that's not her name also.
Oh, that is true.
That's exactly what I was going to say, yeah. Mion and Shion is like an interesting thing. It doesn't come up at all in this episode or this chapter. But
no, in fact, I've been like reading this chapter, like especially like thinking about Shion and like, is there any hint of her existence in this first arc?
There might be. My favorite Higurashi game is figuring out whether Mion or Shion is present.
Yeah.
I'm like, which one is here right now?
Yeah.
Who are you?
It's the secret third twin.
Leon.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Leon, does anyone have any Umineko or Ciconia thoughts on this reading?
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanna move into full When They Cry spoilers.
Yes, I definitely have a thought from Des, which I will yes. So should we move on?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so if you haven't read Umineko or Ciconia, what the hell is wrong with you? Go read them right now. But we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Higurashi Bookclub. We will now proceed into full spoilers for what? Full When They Cry, I suppose? Yeah,
sure.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Full
All
When
of
They
it.
Cry spoilers.
What does Des have to say?
All right. So what was Des's thought?
We'll start with what Des has to say. Like, a carry on from like what I revealed earlier, which is that like, so Des said like, Mion definitely prefers this outcome, even though like Keiichi loses. Like, she prefers. It's better that he lost, but he tried his best than that he just like kind of blindly like bulldozed into it and came up with the right answer. Like, I think for Mion that's like more important. And he said like that's very Umineko-esque. Like, that's exactly what Beato wants, is like for Battler not to just, I guess, address the whole thing as like a problem to be solved and just like algebraically determine who the culprit is. Like, she wants Battler to understand the heart of the mystery and like
engage.
The fact that Battler like overthinks it causes him a huge amount of headaches. Like, he basically refuses to engage with the idea of a murder mystery at all. He kind of just sticks to, it's technically possible for a human that I won't specify to have been the culprit, and he kind of does that because, I think it says something nice about his character that, like, he likes all these people that he's around, and he kind of doesn't want to just arbitrarily decide this person is evil, unless he's like, I guess, sees absolute certainty.
Yeah.
Des's thought is like it's similar.
Both like a very strong, both a very, very strong love for like his family, but also like not trusting Beato to write an actual murder mystery that is like as like an actual solution that he's supposed to come to, and rather just being like, oh well, I can prove that you did this without magic. Boom, haha, you're dumb. Like, just, like, trying to, like, one-up her instead of trying to, like, figure out what she's trying to say.
Yeah. So, like, Des says, like, having just lost means Keiichi tried to get into Mion's shoes, tried to understand how she plays, tried to understand her. His loss means he respected the heart of the game and reasoned the answer out after considering his opponent's feelings. The real test for getting into the club wasn't whether you won or lost, it was how you won or lost. So, yeah. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I definitely see that. No, it's a super cool thought, and it fits, because the thing is, like, that is the kind of shit Mion would pull.
Yeah.
But like, like Mion, like, well, she obviously wasn't gonna lose. Like, she was like, if Keiichi is really like having fun and like, like really determined to get into this club and is determined to win, I know he's going to analyze the way I've been playing before, and he's going to do this. So, if he actually like really cares about the club, he's going to pick this card. And well, I don't plan on losing. But he'll get in if he does this.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, it kind of like welcomes him into the club with like a victory or a defeat. But one way really shows Keiichi's character, because like he really does like work really hard and try to fit in. Because like like if you think about it, this is kind of like his first like real group of friends, and he like really wants to like join them and like have fun with them and stuff. So, just like that hard work and determination and stuff, I think Miano also really appreciates.
God, I love them.
I love them too.
Yeah.
What a good little group of friends.
It's
like,
it's like I said in the first episode, I really like the fact that they all like each other. It's kind of very different to how much I love Umineko characters, and I do love Umineko characters. But like I kind of love them all individually.
Yeah.
I can kind of love Ava and like Rosa and Maria all separately. Those three do not have a great dynamic with each other.
The Ushiromiya family as a unit is
Yeah.
fucked up. Yeah.
But like these was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 people, like
5.
yeah, they
5 plus Shion if we want to on occasion.
yes.
Plus Hanyu,
I've truly
who is in the background.
biggest pet peeve is when people don't include Shion, because I love what the arcs where she's in the school.
Yeah.
No, same. They're so good.
I guess there's just not as many of them, so that's like that. Yeah, because you're right. Like I forget. I forget that she's like related in that way. I tend to think of her as an outsider, but like she does bring something really cool to the dynamic, and like definitely would have been someone that everyone would have liked, and they do in the scenes where that they have together.
I love how reading Higurashi is like, wow, I love how like close these people are and like how much they all care about each other, and then reading Umineko is like, wow, I love how these people all hate each other and want each other to die.
Higurashi is I love these wonderful women doing horrible things. Umineko is I love these horrible women doing wonderful things. No, horrible women doing horrible things.
Horrible women doing horrible things.
Maybe Ciconia will be wonderful women doing wonderful things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we got one woman in Higurashi doing horrible things, and I think maybe Keiichi really appreciated that and started writing Umineko.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I mean, I cannot blame him.
He learned well. I mean, Umineko's got some pretty horrible women.
And they do some pretty horrible things.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what the women are up to in Ciconia, I'll be real.
Inventing shit. I don't know.
Yeah, wisdom.
I really need to reread Ciconia.
No, me too. I barely remember what happened in Ciconia, and I feel like I need this knowledge.
I have a friend who is going to read it at some point, and I'm waiting for her to start reading it so I can read it with her. But I don't think it's going to be for a while.
That's unfortunate.
I know.
Because last time I was reading through Ciconia, I was trying to figure out the traders, and I was going really deep into it. I had a whole like folder on my computer, and then I like stopped in the middle of that, and I don't know where I was.
I just feel like we need to know what the structure of the other phases are going to be before I can even comprehend like any of the trader aspect.
What is happening?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like there clearly are hints, because Stanislaw is the most sus man in the world.
Oh yeah, and Gunhild maybe, or Chloe.
Yeah, Gunhild maybe. Chloe I'm like 50-50 on. There was one other person who I was like very confident was on the sus train, but I don't remember who it was at the moment. Because I don't know where my Ciconia folder was.
Is it what's her name from Malaysia in the COU?
Fuck. What's she look like again?
She has, I believe she wears a hijab.
No.
The one who wears white. I looked up Malaysia Ciconia, and now I'm just getting pictures of birds.
It's not Naima. Naima's not in the COU.
Yeah, no.
Aisha?
Aisha, yeah, that's her. Yeah.
Yes.
I love Aisha. I don't want to distrust her. She's silly. I think Andre was like a little, or Andre was like a little sus, if I remember right. But the one person I'm absolutely confident on is Stanislaw. I don't know if he's like a red herring or what, but he was very sus at the end. When he was like, yeah, Meow just told us to do this thing that he'd never ever said. And everyone was like, damn. Guess so.
Yeah. The image that lives rent-free in my head that I hope we get an answer for is Jestress with her gauntlet in the end. I'm like, now when did this happen?
I need to know the Jestress to Mio Takano pipeline. Because like there's no way Jestress isn't what's it called, a CPU.
A CPP of Veer.
Or CPP. Yeah, CPP of Veer, yeah. Whenever I start like thinking about like Higurashi, Ciconia, and like Umineko and like one big thing, like whole like connected universe stuff, I start going insane about the 34s. if people remember from the 34 episode.
I do.
But I just want to know so badly where Ciconia is going.
Yeah.
I think what I need to know more than Ciconia is where Go was going.
I want to see Ryukishi's original ideas. Because, like, the Meguri manga is pretty good. From what I've read and from what I've heard of the stuff I haven't read.
The latest chapter was amazing, by the way.
Yeah, that's where I think it was supposed to go. Because, like, when I was first watching Go, and then I had to take a break to read all of Umineko and then all of Ciconia because, Not Featherine said some references, and I was like, well, shit, now I have to read all of these other materials so I know what the fuck she's talking about. But when I was in that area, I thought that Go was actually the game that Lambda Delta and Burn Castell fought in, where Lambda Delta lost.
That would,
rather than it being like Higurashi.
Yeah, I think that is a very valid reading as well.
Which I think makes a bit more sense. Yeah, because Burn Castell was born from Higurashi, but she wasn't like playing in it really as like the witch controlling Rika as a piece. Rika ascended to witchhood through the suffering from Higurashi. So, because my view on the whole, like, Higurashi, if you're viewing it in, like, an Umineko lore sense, which, I have fun doing both. I don't, like, fully subscribe to the idea that they're all meant to be connected, but, like, in a hypothetical, it's really fun to talk about. I always figured it being a game between Featherine and Lambda Delta, and then Lambda Delta was, like, absolutely crushing it, and Featherine was like, I'm getting bored. The same shit keeps happening. Good luck, Hanyu, my piece. And Hanyu was like, what the fuck? And then Rika kind of gained sentience like Peace Battler did and, like, joined the game, with, like, Hanyu being, like, kind of like Featherine's proxy, like how Erika was Burn's proxy. Because I always interpreted Hanyu's ow 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 ows as, like, calling for, ow Aurora to come back and help fix this fucking mess.
I really enjoy hearing that theory.
It's just a little hypothetical that I think is fun to think about.
And that's what these stories are really all about. Using your noggin.
Yeah, I can also see that as part of the reason why, like, Lambda was, like, ready to challenge Featherine at the end of Umineko. Featherine just owned her. I'm
gonna say every time like this whole like witch identities thing comes up, I feel like Charlie pointing at my board. Like there's so much conflicting stuff. I still
yeah, like the whole conspiracy, like the red string.
You said certain.
as like someone who hasn't watched Go, like I still feel like the Takano is Lambda Delta thing, in as much as these witches are ever like a single person, which is debatable. I think like that always made the most sense to me, and the Satoko thing was like more just kind of.
Do you want to know my crack theory? Okay, because I had a really wacky one
let's hear it.
A while back. I might have touched upon this in the 34 episode. I don't remember, but my crack theory is Ciconia is first in the timeline. Now hear me out. If you think that, if you take the idea that everyone is in the brain meat factory and they have their little spinal cord brains like hooked up in there and they're all existing in virtual realities and a lot of people have CPPs and are like, existing in their various like virtual realities, virtual worlds as like you do now. Like, when you go into like VR chat, you can go to various worlds and like interact there. But if you have CPPs, you have multiple people in your brain going to different worlds and stuff. So, say, like, you have Lambda Delta, who has a CPP who's Veer, and who has a CPP who's Gestress, and, you also have Takano, and you also have maybe Satoko, question mark? And then, they're all doing their different things, and Lambda Delta, being the core one, is traversing the fragments of the worlds, and their CPPs are just interacting with them. And you can do that for every single character, where all of when they cry is just Ciconia virtual reality in the bad timeline.
So then is Ciconia the base
in the
world?
Spinal cord factory. Ciconia is the base world in my brain. And it also explains how Okanogi can be alive in Ciconia but still play a part in Higurashi and Umineko, because Ciconia was the first one.
Yeah, Okinogi is a CPP, but all of the CPPs are called Okinogi and the exact same. Like,
Or it's possible Okinogi doesn't have a CPP and he's just going to different worlds. So he was in the Higurashi world for a while, and then that ended, and he was like, like, I'm over it. And then he went to Umineko and started doing stuff there. I'm just saying. You can't prove me wrong.
You can't deny it in red.
You can't deny it. It's a devil's proof. It would also low-key explain the line in Go where Ewa, aka Feathering, aka Hanyu, is like, oh, anomalous spinal cord, LD, blah, 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 at Satoko, and then calls her Veer. And yeah, and then Satoko is like, what does that mean? But, if Feathering is in charge of the brain factory... Because there is a line somewhere, I don't remember it, like where it happens or what exactly is being said, but there's like a kind of like disembodied voice talking over the meat factory that mentions the phrase child of man. So, if Feathering is in charge there, then of course you would be aware that Satoko's anomalous spinal cord, LD1305, or whatever the fuck it was, I forgot the numbers already. And then it would also make sense of how Burn Castell could be born from Rika being or suffering all those loops because she died and then she just respawned in the new game world. But like, all of that still like built up in her brain, and then she just got another little like spin-off or whatever. I don't know the exact word I want to use. But just a little like split personality. I don't want to call it split personality, but that's technically what it is. Where Burn exists, and she just goes and traverses the fragments. And maybe she became self-aware. Maybe witches are the ones who are aware that this is just a game. And that's why they're so down to murder people. Because, like, who cares? We're just in our little VR. This isn't real. We're just our little brain spinal cords hooked up in the machine.
I wonder if the reason why, like, Umineko, Higurashi, Ciconia, to a certain extent, all feel like they're like reusing some of the same cast, is because like 99% of the brainstem population are like just having like they're just living in like Candyland, basically, like cotton candy, like like, and then like there's a small and there's like a small dedicated fan base for like abject suffering, where they like simulate like misery, and they enjoy that for some reason,
Yeah, and then you can make the tea parties in both Higurashi. Umineko they're already canon, but the Higurashi tea parties make more sense because they're like, oh, that was a thing we just played. It wasn't that strange. I wonder what was going on. Tune in next time. And it also works with, Rikishi saying that he uses his characters as actors in different works, because they'll just be like, oh, I'm going to play a new role in here. Like how Burn was like at the end of Umineko, like, oh yeah, I just played the villain role this time. I'll figure out what I'm going to do next time. And Lambda's like, it'd suck if you have to be the villain again. So like they're self-aware. You become self-aware, you become a witch when you become aware that you are in the silly little brain world, or at least aware that part of what you're taking is fictional, which is how Peace Battler ascended.
I kind of like the idea that like every previous When They Cry work is like in some way like embedded into the next. So like Higurashi was like like a game that like Burn and Lambda played, and they're within Umineko, and then Umineko is like a game that like they're being played on brain stems in Ciconia, and then whatever comes after Ciconia is going to be like a video game, like a popular video game.
Let's not get that far ahead of ourselves. Let's try to finish Ciconia first.
Let's finish Ciconia now.
So maybe this is like planet Earth when they cry, that we're living in.
When we cry.
When
when
we cry.
When the people cry.
When we cry. Oh my god, that's the podcast.
Oh my god, that's the podcast. Yeah. We figured it out. But yeah, no, I like when the works kind of like lead into each other too, especially given like they have similar themes and like semi-reoccurring characters. And I think just like Ciconia being so different from the other two is what really like spurred me onto it. Because the second I was like, oh, it's getting questionable whether like something is actually happening in the real world or not, I was like, wait a minute, that's just like everyone they cry.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking too deep. I don't think that's actually what Rikishi's going for, but it is a fun concept to think about.
Ryukishi, you can help us. You can help us learn.
By writing phase 2 of Ciconia. Please.
Yeah, please guide humanity.
Just
guide
a nibble.
humanity down the right path.
I mean, we already got that little preview with, like, the Red Sea or whatever.
Not the Red Sea, the red, green, blue, the RGBC.
The RGBC, yeah. the blue-green thieves, or whatever the fuck they were called. Yeah, that was wild. I want to know more. Ciconia's world is, like, really... Because, like, we've never really had, like... Rikishi, like, build, like a world from scratch, because usually, like, it takes place, like, general real world, but then, like, strange elements are brought in. But this is, like, Rikishi has to imagine, like, a whole new, like, universe in, like, which, like, you know, like, there are different alliances and the countries and how everything works. So I'm just, like, very interested in that. Because, like, we got a bit of his, like, world-building stuff with, like, the magic in Umineko, but, like, it was always, like, in passing. But, like, this is, like, a whole, like, Rikishi gets to, like, world-build out the wazoo, and I want to learn more about the Ciconia world so bad.
Part of the world-building in Umineko always felt like sort of an in-joke to me, like, the absurdity of it all.
Yeah. No, because, like, they would start rambling about, like, the forces of heaven and, like, the giant war and, like, the shields that took place, like, you know, that were, like, used in the war against the gods. And it's just, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like...
It's just, like, you know, like, Sayo going on a tangent is what it feels like.
Yeah, like, yeah, she's just...
Or, I guess at that point it would have been, Ikugo.
No, I think most of that stuff is Sayo still. Like, oh no, EP3...
Because it's all meta worlds. It's all meta worlds.
Yeah, EP3 is no longer Sayo. And that's when we get, like, Virgilia and the giant war, and
it's also just because we don't know how much was actually in the published books. Like, that's the other thing. Like,
yeah, because, like, honestly, if you look at it, Sayo didn't actually world build that much. Like, she had like the witch legend and stuff, but I think, like, the most crazy thing she did was, like, the banquet and, like, the love brooch and, like, you know, breaking the mirror stuff. But that was already, like, some of that, like, the mirror stuff is already part of the witch legend.
Are you saying that?
But then, like, you have
wrote the concepts of the Great Court of Heaven, Delanor and Cornelia and Gertrude and all that?
I think, yeah. I mean, some of that, like the Red Truth, I don't know if it was written down, if it was something that was written down, was possibly something introduced by Ikuko under the influence of Toya / Battler.
Right. I mean, Red Truth was in episode 2, so it would have been a Sayo thing, which I can, like, 50-50 see that being a thing.
Yeah, I'm 50-50
because, like, I started realizing in my most recent Umineko read-through that some of the meta world scenes have to be written in there because the characters talk about them on the board. Like, especially in episode 3, where, like, Beato's like, hey, Evatrice, please don't do this because I'm finding this guy in this other dimension and he doesn't really like what you're up to. Which would make no sense to, like, bring up in the story.
That's assuming
if the meta world stuff wasn't being written.
That's assuming that we're seeing the Eva Torice stuff. That's what's written in the published versions of the story. I always thought possibly that, like, the EP3 that was released was a version of events, not necessarily magical, but a mystery where Ava was the what's it called?
I think it has to be magical because Angie talks about it like being like, oh, magical, and it has like the same like scent as like the other like stories, you know, like it has like the same vibe.
That could be like EP1 though, where like you know, things seem to happen magically, but there's like in EP1 there's, I think, very rarely, maybe sometimes people see butterflies, but like apart from that, like
just Shannon and Canon.
Yeah, but like other than that, like pretty much it's all shown from the perspective of someone who never sees any magic happening, just things that are impossible and therefore must be magic. Yeah, I've always...
Yeah, but then, you know, the message bottles weren't given credibility until episode 2 came out, and we know that was wild.
Yeah, I've always kind of wondered if things like the Red Truth and, you know, a lot of the meta world commentary are actually, like, we never see what is actually published. We kind of get the idea, like, we might get the idea, but that a lot of it is to do with Battler reading kind of some of these early episodes, and then later on he writes them in.
Maybe. I don't know about that. I feel like there's very little reason to believe that, you know, like, what happens on the board isn't what we're getting in the story.
I could see what happens on the game board, the conversations between Beato and Battler being stand-ins for the conversation between Battler and Ikuko. Or Toya and Ikuko.
Yeah.
But I think that's, rather than like a 1-to-1, I think it's more just like parallel streams, you know?
Yeah.
I also don't necessarily believe in a literal, like, I don't know, I feel like my understanding of the Umineko multiversals, everything, like different layers of reality is much more abstract, and things don't necessarily need to have actually occurred or not, you know?
Yeah, but I feel like we should loop back around to talking a little bit more about Higurashi. I feel like we've gone on a large tangent.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Higurashi Bookclub. It's 25% 25% Ciconia Bookclub, and it's 25% Umineko Bookclub too.
Where we talk about Umineko.
Yeah.
Get a little bonus in this episode.
Yeah.
I guess any final thoughts then on Higurashi? I don't have, like...
They, like, given, like, what we've read, I don't think I have anything else
me
to
neither.
particularly touch on that we haven't already.
I'm just really enjoying these slice of life scenes.
Yeah.
I'm very much excited for the horror scenes, but I love these.
It's nice to see the characters having fun. I'm very excited for Keiichi's little god complex in the next chapters. He starts going wild. I may have thought we were doing day 5 today, so that's where I had read, but luckily I knew what was going on.
Cool. Well, should we call it for there?
Sure.
Yeah, I think so. We've been talking for a hot minute.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. See you later. I was Horse Fry.
This is Ez.
Handler.
And catch you next time.
See you later.
Bye.